All right, so I predicted there'd be a player on the board at 29, and I'm not sure what you do. Do you have any guesses as to who it'll be?
I'm not sure who you're going to get, if it's a position that we've talked about or if it's something completely off the board.
We haven't talked about this guy really much at all, but we talked about him earlier today. I wouldn't be shocked if Laiatu was still on the board at 29. He's considered by some to be the best and most versatile edge rusher in this draft. But when you have a player that, I mean, it was called a medical retirement at Washington because of a neck injury. He suffered numbness in his neck. It wasn't alleviated by surgery. The medical personnel suggested that he risked being paralyzed if he continued to play.
Yeah.
He left Washington.
He was told not to play again.
Went to UCLA, got medical clearance to play. So this is tricky because his physical skill set says high first round. But with that nugget of information, I'm not sure what you're to do. I get scared with stuff like this because you don't want anything to go south in a bad way for a player with this kind of injury. But could you see him still being on the board? That the injury question?
Yeah, I could. I think that teams get really scared when it comes to medicals. And when you're talking about a neck injury, even though fortunately for him, the last 2 years was injury-free and he racked up a bunch of sacks, I think 23 sacks in the last couple of years, I do think teams shy away from that. They don't want to go near it. And, when will somebody pull the trigger on it? Will it be well after, the 20s? Will we see it at 29? I don't think it'll last that long, but I understand the logic behind why he would.
It's just, when drafts are over, sometimes people say, yeah, we have medical questions and we weren't going to. If he drops, then I don't know that you can take him. If that many teams are saying no, and then look, the Lions will do their own homework, right? It's not like they're going to rely on everybody else's medical reports, but that's a scary deal if everybody is passing on him. You got to get to the point and you say, all right, is this pick worth sacrificing if the guy can never play? Is it going to be worth the potential upside, And I don't think that's 29.
Do you think based on the conversation last week, I don't know it's conversation, but up in front of the microphones and cameras and up at the podium, when Taylor Decker was talking and they talked about contract extension, he said, yeah, we started to have talks and, I want to play my whole career here and, I'm happy where things are progressing, where they're going. Does that keep the Lions out of drafting a tackle if a tackle slips to them? There's a lot of tackles in this
Mims or somebody.
Yeah, I was going to say Mims or Fashanu from Penn State, one of those guys who both considered by most as top 20 players available in the draft. But because, you're obviously going to redo with Penei Sewell soon, and if you bring back Decker after this year for a couple more, does that prevent you from taking a tackle in the first round?
It's cold business.
Mm-hmm.
And do I think that prevents them because he says he wants to stay here? I love that he wants to stay here.
Or that it seemed like that Brad Holmes was willing to bring him back too and sign him to a deal.
Yeah, so he's got a cap hit this year of $19.1 million. He'll be 32 when he enters the first year of his next contract. I mean, the question is, all right, how much do you want to be here? How much less than $19.1 million will you take?
Right, because he's not going to set the market because he's a left tackle and he's been starting in the league for a long time. I don't think he's the guy that sets the market, and I don't think the Lions would even envision that either. But you're right, how far down does that price come?
And the issue is, if you draft a guy, if one of those guys falls to you and you draft that player, he's your next right tackle. The Lions have the elite left tackle in-house that can slide over. And if there's a starting caliber player, I mean, and Brad Holmes said last week, when we're looking at things, we're looking at A, B, C, and D was what contracts are set to expire. He could be talking about Deckers. Because if you can save $15 million on a starting tackle. It's a lot of money.
It is.
So it might be, that could be in play.